Welcome to IQ, I'm Pete Dillon. Over this season, this program is going to explore issues that affect the GLBTIQ community. And we're going to have some in-depth views and opinions from people that exist within our community as experts and commentators. And tonight's discussion focuses on the pink dollar. What is it? How did the expression come into being? And is it relevant like it was 10 or 15 years ago? The pink dollar, or the Dorothy dollar, came into being in the early 90s as a marketing term. The gay and lesbian community were seen as dinks, double incomes, no kids, and therefore seen to have a higher expendable income. The notion that homosexuality and wealth are linked has a long lineage, traced back by some historians to ancient Rome. So let's explore that myth, and to do so I'm joined tonight by journalist, media commentator and broadcaster Cate Pope. Evening, Cate.
Pete.
CEO of the Also Foundation, Lynn Morgaine. Good evening, Lynn.
Hi, Pete.
Practitioner of Chinese medicine and self-employed man, Schulz. Hi, Kyle.
Good evening, Pete.
And President of the Gay and Lesbian Organisation for Business Enterprise, or GLOBE, Peter Stephenson. Welcome.
Good evening, Pete.
Lynn, let me start with you. Also is a charitable organisation, or parts of Also are a charitable organisation that assists people right across the queer spectrum. In your view, is the pink dollar still relevant? And is the chasm between the haves and have-nots within our community getting wider?
Look, certainly the pink dollar is relevant to the extent that it's possible to market on the basis of gender and sexual identity. So yes, is the gap getting bigger? Absolutely. The gap's getting bigger right across the community, and it's getting bigger within our community. But I think importantly, those two concepts can be brought together for one to assist the other, and I think that's where the real benefit is.
Yep. Peter, as president of GLOBE, you are perceived to have a fairly wealthy membership base. What value is placed on the financial wealth of your members?
Well, we don't place a lot of value as GLOBE on the financial wealth of our members. We do attract, I suppose, the upper socio-economic group, but we do have a cross-section just the same as any other group within the community, from those that are in high-powered jobs, maybe banking, finance, stockbroking, through to other professions that don't earn as much money. So the wealth of the individual members is not really taken into a high consideration, but we use our ability to tap into those socio-economic groups to actually raise funds for other people.
Sure. Cate Pope, you've been involved in queer and the broader media for a number of years. What are your views on the way that we're seemingly targeted as wealthier than our heterosexual counterparts?
Well, while we know in our community that lots of gays and lesbians are having children and bringing up families, and just like everybody else, I think in the mainstream media, they're probably not so much aware of that, and they still view us as having a huge disposable income and think, gosh, they must want to spend that money on something that they're not spending on bringing up children. So I think that myth still plays fairly strongly.
Do we, and feel free to jump in, anybody, do we exacerbate that myth because of our lifestyle?
Predominantly so, I think. Even though, as I said, we are raising children and increasingly so, I still think that is on a lower scale from the members of our community that don't have children. So I do think that we still play into that myth.
Kyle, I'd like to bring you in here because you're self-employed, so you don't have, a highly expendable income that is as solid or as frequent as perhaps those employed in perhaps banking, whatever have. Is the pink dollar relevant to you when you don't have a regular income?
I find that I'm sort of excluded from the pink dollar because my income fluctuates weekly. I'll earn $500 one week, I'll earn $1,500 the next, and if I'm interested in going on a holiday, I just went overseas to Africa to visit my sister, and that sort of expense, I find it hard to factor into a fluctuating income. And then when I come back, my business has sort of fallen apart because I'm relying on people coming in weekly, and that drops right off.
So when you're not there, obviously the money's not there.
Yeah.
Capitalist economic imperatives, which exert an exert an increasing influence on government policy, recognise only the needs of those that can pay, and that's happening between not just within our community but the broader community. And as Lynn's mentioned, the gap between the haves and have-nots is getting much bigger. So I'm wondering if now the pink dollar is being left behind, and again I'll call for any of you to jump in here, or whether it's just simply symptomatic of the issues that are affecting the broader community as well as affecting the queer community.
Pete, I wonder if it's not as simple as just being about the dollar, the money part of it. And an example would be the Also directory, where people with a commercial enterprise have the opportunity to advertise in the directory. Most people would know that, and they do that, and they clearly see a value in positioning within the community to their business. But when you talk with directory advertisers, that's not the only reason they're doing it. They're doing it because they want to indicate a level of symbolic commitment to the community, and because they want to support all of the community listings that are also included. So I think for my money, no pun intended, we probably have to be a little bit careful about assuming that the ways we connect each other is around some form of commercial transaction, because I don't think it is all about that. So I think often when people sign on to things, there are a whole range of other values as well as the possible economic benefit that might come at the end. And so there's a pink community, whether there's a pink dollar behind that, don't know. I think it needs some unpacking.
Can we perhaps then look at the ghettoisation, or the scene that we're perceived to live in? And I think it's safe to assume that the pink dollar is the target of many bars, for example, that charge too much for drinks and entry fees. I've been known to pay money to go into a pub, which if I'm serious. If I was a heterosexual, I wouldn't do that, because it's just not done.
You would just go along and find another pub.
Sure, exactly.
Yeah, but in the same by the same token, that represents exclusivity, and we have to pay to be exclusive. So if we want to be in an exclusive bar and be surrounded by same-sex people, and we see that as a sense of being exclusive, then we're certainly going to have to pay for that.
But was that not seen, and did that not happen because we saw areas where we felt that we were protected from the outside community from violent situations, or is it just because we want to mix with like kind and be exclusive?
But that's exclusive in both senses of the word, surely. I mean, that's exclusive as in excluding as well, because what it does is it puts a dollar value on participation.
Sure. The other thing I wanted to look at was inner city real estate rentals are quite often more exorbitant, and there's landlords who can charge extreme amounts of money for inner city living space, and promoters of dance parties who charge phenomenal amounts of tickets. Now, I know that it takes a lot of money to stage a dance party, to get talent, to have lighting, etc. But I just wonder if we are excluding those that can't pay from being part of our community, this pink community that you mentioned before.
But I've found that a lot of people I've met through our business and social networking, they actually prefer not to be part of the gay ghetto, so to speak, because I think they do perceive that there is a premium to being in that gay ghetto, and I'm finding that more and more people are moving out of that area, and that ghetto seems to be breaking down.
And there are a lot of people who can't afford to participate in that, whether they wanted to or not, who say that stereotype doesn't represent me, because it doesn't, because I don't attend those venues, or I don't go to those events, or but I'm as queer as the next person. So it's just interesting.
I think the dance parties also are held periodically in as fundraisers, for instance, for also. So, you know, I don't have a problem paying $100 for a ticket to go to a dance party that's going to financially benefit the advocacy of gay rights in Victoria or Australia. And I'd certainly prefer to do that than, you know, pay that same amount of money to go to a dance party outside my community, a mainstream dance party that goes into the hands of the pockets of the promoters. So
sounds like to me that fear is behind the pink dollar in a big way, with you know, having these dance parties as a way of, you know, being just around queer people, and whereas if you were to go to a straight rave, you might have to explain who you are or your sexuality. I think that's a big part of it.
Fair comment. I also perhaps want to look at just, you know, the amount that I would pay for a beer in a gay bar as compared to what I would pay for a beer around the corner from my house in my local pub. And that difference is very obvious to me. Obviously, I drink too much beer. Sorry, go on.
I'm not sure that overcharging is what's meant by the pink dollar. I'm not sure it is. I think the phrase pink dollar, as I understand it, refers to a marketing mechanism often used by others to attract our money. It's not about the transactions that go on within our community as you're. I'm not saying that that's not a concern or an issue. Is that about people drawing on the merits of us wanting to congregate and out to make money? Sure. But I don't think that's about the pink dollar. I think that's about enterprise within our community and the way it plays out. And does it play out as exclusive and expensive? Absolutely.
Because internal marketing within the gay community comes down to rainbow stubby holders and fridge magnets, doesn't it? That's all we've got to buy.
I think we've got more to buy, but I appreciate the point you're trying to make, is that, you know, to identify ourselves by visual symbols, we rely very heavily on the pride symbol, and that comes into, you know, the desk rulers and the coffee mugs.
And heck, I'll buy all that. I'm at a pride march. I'll be head to toe. They'll see me coming a mile away. But I don't think that kind of internal marketing and merchandising works. It's tired and it's, you know.
What are the alternatives?
Well, I think it's all about us sort of mainstreaming, and you know, I'll certainly fly an airline that has a savvy marketing campaign that for instance, Virgin, that's after my pink dollar and recognises me as a market and does it in a way that I think, from probably a Gen X, Gen Y perspective, is sophisticated, is clever, is, you know, or has a pension policy within the company that supports gay families, etc., etc. I'll give them my pink buck dearly over an airline doesn't have as friendly gay policies.
And there's a lot of, I mean, you know, also is involved in a lot of discussion around access to rest homes and other forms of services for seniors, and the clear message coming through there is, we have money, spend it. We are trying to find providers who are prepared to attract our money in a way that makes us feel comfortable and, you know, accepted, etc., etc. To me, that's where you're watching the pink dollar play out, where, in fact, we're standing there with our bag of bucks saying, I want to buy my future life, but I need to be persuaded that a provider is going to give me what I want for it.
But do you believe that these companies that are providing for the pink dollar actually care more for the queer community?
Don't know. I mean, when it's an airline or when it's, I won't go into brand names, but there are clearly big corporate players who have gone out of their way to demonstrate, and airlines are notable amongst them, their interest and commitment in pitching. There are some pretty big motoring companies as well, etc., etc. When it comes down to human services like aged care services, jury's still out. There's no evidence at all yet, and I certainly, you know, I certainly wouldn't be putting it in the bank, so to speak, but that debate is taking place about, well, what would it take for me to be persuaded that I will purchase my future retirement here with you? And frankly, as a community, we put the bench pretty high. It's like, I'm not signing up unless I can be convinced I'm going to have a good time.
And is that going to be the queer nursing home that needs the pool and the bar and the mirror balls and
My point exactly. We have very high standards.
Some nice
glass
eating
coffee
spaces
tables.
as well.
Yeah, the central people will be banging on the door to get into that. I'm banging on the door to get into that. That's
And look, truthfully, I don't think there are any shortage of providers who are seriously trying to work out how to match that need. I mean, they quite clearly see. And I mean, always, I guess the danger is in imagining that that's all of us. That's not all of us. 80% of us can't afford our retirement, but the 20% who can are very strident in the market. And, I think that...
So where's the pitch from the community to try and make sure that the facilities we want and the retirement that we want? I haven't seen that pitch, and granted, I don't read magazines designed for over 55s or anything, but...
I do, and I have. No, it is there.
I'm actually waiting to join the Australian Pensioners Insurance Agency. I'm really looking forward to that because it's going to be so much cheaper. And now you only have to be over 50.
And you have to live with a partner. My mother, who, as it happens, is also a lesbian, is furious with that exact company because they pitched to her, she got involved, and then she found out she had to live with a partner, and she doesn't.
What?
So the rates are only for those that are hooked up. And aside.
It's confusing. I just want to come back to this ghettoisation because I think that for the most part we may ourselves be responsible for exacerbating this myth, and I guess what I would like to see us do is start to deconstruct that myth by taking away that ghettoisation of let's have our venues close to the city, let's live close to the city, let's go to dance parties, let's shop on Chapel Street.
I think that is a myth in the sense that we really believe that that's where the gay population is concentrated. I think possibly the younger gay population,
or a visible gay population,
is concentrated there, the 18 to 25 age group. But I mean, we only have to go to our big outdoor events, our Carnival, Pride March, opening night at Fed Square for Midsummer, and you see thousands upon thousands of gay and lesbian and transgender, bisexual, queer people, and they don't all live in Fitzroy and St Kilda. That I think that the older members of our community particularly are spread out in greater suburbia all over Melbourne and rural areas as well.
Absolutely.
I know when I first started going out to gay bars, all I saw was the same people, so I had this...
All 7 of them.
Understand.
They were lesbian.
I had this understanding that there was 20 other gay people in Melbourne.
But I think if you put a compass into the post office and you drew a 10-kilometre circle right around Melbourne and take away the ocean bit, if you look from Williamstown all the way around to, I guess, Port Melbourne and sort of that St Kilda, Brighton area, I think you'll find a fairly high concentration. And I'm not denying that there are, outside of that 10-kilometre radius, sort of burgeoning queer communities everywhere. One that I know of is Sunbury. Sunbury's about a 40k drive, about an hour. And I all of a sudden know loads of gay people in Sunbury. So that's developing, and they recently did a presentation of a drag show out there for the Gay Sound of Music that's gone to Edinburgh.
But I haven't been down Commercial Road for years. I'd sort of grown out of that, I suppose. But to me, 10, 15 years ago, there was a need for that concentration. But, Kath mentioned mainstream, and we've become more accepted and more mainstream from that point of view. So having that concentration of venues of where we need to live, I think now is unnecessary. We have blended more into the broader community.
And the great thing about mainstreaming is that we can dip back into
our roots, so to speak.
When we need to. For instance, the role of the gay press. If there's a gay mechanic or a gay alternative Chinese medicine practitioner, I'll have the tendency to support
we
those
our
people, to sustain our the health of our community and the economics of our community, rather than. So I like to dip into it for those kind of.
But if you own a business, let me tell you from personal experience, you can't rely on the gay community for that to be successful.
Absolutely.
You'll fail.
No, I know you can't rely on it, but you can certainly leverage it.
Yeah.
In addition to
I think you were right, Kath, though, that it is a youthful attachment, and also, Cole, you were saying that. I look at our young people, and that immediate early identification with a concentration of community is really important to know, and locality. So
it's a safety net.
It's a beginning. Well, look at us. Come on. I mean, we've been, and now we're where we are.
People will have a compass in their hand to find a podium.
This is, it's a beginning.
Under a mirror
it's a
ball.
start point, and there are, look, it's not just young people. If you're a tourist, we've all done it. You travel elsewhere. You look for a gay kind of locality to get your bearings, pick up a mag or whatever, get a bit of a sense of where you are. And so,
I thought you were going to say pick up a man for a minute.
well, that too. You're on holiday. Anything's
You can do
possible.
what you like.
But
I think when I started out in business, I believed that all my clientele would be homosexual or queer.
yeah.
And as it turns out, maybe 1% of them are.
Yes.
But my role, my role with the Pink Dollar, I guess, is that I'm educating everyone that comes in, because they all know that I'm homosexual, or they find out throughout our professional relationship that I am.
Do you
And
actively,
they see that I'm a normal person.
we haven't got horns and spikes going out of here. Do you actively pursue the gay market as a business person? Do you advertise in the queer press? Are you in the also directory?
When I first started, yes, I was in the gay newspapers and I was in the also directory, but it didn't get me going.
Yeah.
It didn't produce
That's
dollars.
interesting, isn't it? There's your answer.
I guess
in
there is
terms
the
of
answer.
Queer dollar.
So are we then, as individuals, not supporting queer business?
I think we do, but I think it's more of a viral thing. I don't think it's necessarily, I need a mechanic, I'll look up the also directory.
Yeah.
I think we just sort of know people within our community, because predominantly I know more gays and lesbians, or socialise with more gays and lesbians, I guess, than I do to a certain extent heterosexual. I suppose the older you get, that perhaps
The more that blows.
I'm
If I need-
22, but I guess what I'm saying is it's more of a viral thing, because this is our community. We being gay is normal for us. We know gay mechanics. We know gay. Gee, we know a few heterosexual hairdressers, I guess. We know gay health practitioners. So we tend to, I'm looking for. I know a guy who does this, or I know a girl that does that. So I think it's more of a word of mouth viral thing.
If I'm looking for a sofa, there's one four-letter word that screeches gay where I should go and buy my sofa, yeah?
Right. How many?
Right, but-
IKEA has how many?
Yeah, 4.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. There are sort of these brands that,
Couldn't work it out either.
I wouldn't have thought of that.
Can I say, notwithstanding Kyle's experience, which I respect, there must be something good about, for example, advertising in the also directory, because every year people renew their ad, and
But
they do so.
I think that predominantly for health practitioners, and for instance, I want to go to a doctor, a GP that has an understanding of lesbian health. So I would certainly.
Yeah, so you're saying it depends on the service.
Sure, the also directory did help.
Oh, good.
But
you
it
feel
was,
so aggrieved now.
I'm not aggrieved,
it
I'm
was
just
nowhere
curious.
near as successful as.
As you anticipated.
I think if you're looking for health services, I'm always interested in somebody, a friend of mine, who's been to somebody and recommends them. So from that point of view, for that type of service, I'd look for a recommendation. I'd look up a directory or something, but I just wouldn't go to that person cold without having some awareness of what they're like in that area you're looking at.
I think your point is a good one. You want some level of recommendation, but if you don't have it, the people I talk to who are, for example, our advertisers, the celebrants come back in droves every year, going, put me in. So clearly, when we're looking for a celebrant, there aren't too many places for us to look. So the directory, for example, becomes
Absolutely.
terribly
It's a
important.
place
So
to
it sort
start.
of depends a bit on the service you're offering. Is
Totally
that-
depends on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it's something that the other people who talk are our jewellers, who say when people choose rings, they like to come to us
Is that
because
then-
they know we're going to be respectful.
Is that then enforcing that myth, that pink conch shell myth?
Well, it's not a myth, that's a reality. I talk to the parties, the buyers and the sellers.
The pink dollar is, if I look at the state of play in Australia at the moment, we have a hostile government, as sweeping generalisation as that is, it's true.
No, I think it's a safe.
I'm fairly safe in saying, and a hostile government to the recognition of our relationship and the protection of our rights, our human rights as a community. My power is my dollar. Yeah. My power is my vote and my dollar. So I only get to vote once every 3 years or 4 years. So my most powerful, continued advocacy is by dollar. Sure. So I am going to look at companies that have fair employment policies, anti-discrimination policies, that recognise me as a member of the community, that don't see me as invisible, that actually go after my dollar, which means, hey, that community exists. Gays and lesbians, they're out in the community, they exist, they're not in the closet, and it's not an invisible part of the community. For a young person to read a clever print campaign targeting the gay community, or see a very clever furniture company ad targeting the gay community, says, oh my gosh, we exist. We're not invisible.
Sure.
And sure, Jijing, you've got my buck.
I just really like. Can I add something quickly?
Final comment, yep.
The pink dollar also works for the heterosexual community as well, because all of the women that come to see me know that I'm gay and they feel safe to talk about anything.
It's a good comment.
And that's where the pink dollar is working for them.
And well, I'm thinking, I guess, along those lines, is that those companies that go out of their way to market to us don't just get us. They get a lot besides. They get a lot of other progressive players who are interested in promoting that kind of marketplace positioning that is into diversity, So at the end of the day, do they do it for commercial reasons? Hell yes. But are they engaged in something more broadly that's about social action within community? Yes. And are we? Yes.
Peter, final comment?
I think the pink dollar's a bit of a myth these days. We've gone mainstream.
Excellent. Guys, thank you so much for your participation on the panel, for joining us tonight, and thank you for watching. Look forward to seeing you next time on IQ.